Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about the top 3 goals you should have for your social media posts. Before we get into today's topic, last week I created a video talking about how to target the right audience with your church's social media content. If you've not watched that one already, pause this video, go watch that one. It will really set you up for success for the topic that we're talking about today. The question for today is, what kind of content should you be posting to your church's social media accounts? I've broken it down into 3 different goals that you should have in mind when you're creating content. Those 3 goals are as follows. First, answering questions that potential new visitors have. Second, showing what it's like to attend a service at your church. And third is showing your personality or showing what makes your church unique. The first category is this: answering visitors' questions. When you look at the questions that new visitors have before they visit your church, it's a fairly predictable set of questions that people are asking over and over again. They're really basic questions like, where are you located? What time is service? What should I wear? What kind of worship do you have? You have stuff there for my kids and my family. You should be answering these questions over and over and over again every single week with the content that you're creating on social media. Now you might be saying, those are really basic questions. Do we really have to post content like that every week? And the answer is yes. People that are searching for the answers to these questions likely have not come to your church before, and they're not willing to dig super deep through either your social media accounts or your website to find the answers that you're looking for, which means you need to go way out of your way to present this information as easily as possible. That leads us to our second category, which is showing people what it will be like to visit your church for the first time. Most people don't like surprises, and the experience that I want visitors to have when they walk through your doors is, yeah, this is what I was expecting. This is what I saw online. This is a great time to talk about the 2 different parts of the content you're creating. You've got the visuals, which will be the photo or video, and then you've got the copy or the written caption that goes along with those visuals. For this category, for expressing what it's like to visit your church, you want to lean really heavy on the visuals, which means you've got to go out of your way to invest in having great photography, great videography. That is really going to do a lot of the heavy lifting in this category versus writing captions like, our worship is amazing, or come grab coffee before service, things like that. You can do a lot of the heavy lifting if you invest in great photography and great videography. For those of you that can't afford to hire a photographer or videographer to be part of your church staff, I want you to seriously consider hiring a professional photographer or videographer to come shoot content at your church on a regular basis and use that to be creating the social media posts that we're talking about. Now, a lot of churches get really hung up on the weekly rhythm. It is normal. There is a weekly rhythm to most of the work that you're doing. So for a lot of churches, they take that same weekly rhythm and apply it to the photography or the videography that they're trying to create. And it kind of gets stuck in their head that you've got to have photos from this weekend or you've got to have videos from this weekend. And that really is not the case. For us on church staffs, we spend a ton of time and effort into creating awesome experiences on the weekend. So we've got a lot of time invested in the new hot thing that we're doing this weekend that's going to make service special, whether it's a unique speaker, it could be a unique worship experience, or something fun that you're doing in the kids' classroom. You got to start to think about this from the perspective of a new potential visitor. They are not as invested in those weekly rhythms or not as invested in those unique experiences you're creating as you are. It doesn't really matter to the person checking out your church online whether the photo is from this weekend or 2 or 3 weeks ago. 1, they're not going to know, and 2, even if they did know, they're not really going to care. I bring this up because if you are going to hire a professional photographer or videographer to come in and help you create content, you don't have to have them there each and every week. They can come in once a month, once every other week, once every 6 weeks, really depending on what you're trying to create. That will give you enough photography and videography to be able to create social media content for your church. That brings us to our third category, which is showing your personality or really what makes your church unique. Your church is different from the church down the road, but you don't often sit there and think about why. What's different about our church than the one that's right down the road? Why would someone maybe select our church to visit rather than the one right down the street. Spend the time to figure out what it is that's most important to you and talk about it. It might be missions. You might be very focused on new believers. You might be really hyper invested in your extreme local community. All of those are awesome characteristics that are going to appeal to a different people. So it's important that when you're creating social media content that you highlight whatever that is. Now I have to take a moment and encourage you not to exaggerate in this category of content. If you're going to create social media posts or stuff on your website that says you are all about X, whether that's missions, evangelism, whatever it might be about it. This is not a time to exaggerate. New visitors are really, really good at figuring out, hey, you were talking a lot about this and I really don't see you backing it up. A lot of people have been hurt by churches or people at churches, and we have to factually represent ourselves if we're going to reverse that trend. So to recap, there are 3 categories you should consider when creating content for your church's social media. 1, answering questions new visitors have. 2, show what it's like to attend a service for the first time. And 3, show your personality, show what makes you unique. These are the 3 types of posts that you should be making really on a weekly basis, over and over and over again, because this is the most likely content to help a new visitor figure out, is this the church for me and should I come visit this church? If you're interested in growing your church using strategies like we talked about today, but just simply don't have the time, I would love to chat. I help churches just like yours use online strategies like this to grow their church one visitor at a time. There's links down in the description of how to get in contact with me. I'd love to set up a time and chat. If you've not done so already, make sure and hit that subscribe and like buttons here on YouTube. That's it for today's video. See you guys next week.